In a time when Africa is at a crossroads between democracy and dictatorship, Tanzania, once seen as a beacon of hope in East Africa, is now raising global concern. Tension is rising across Tanzania as youth groups take to the streets ahead of their planned nationwide protests scheduled for the 28th of October, 2025, just one day before the country's presidential election. The protests are said to be a direct response to what many young Tanzanians describe as years of poor governance, economic hardship, and growing authoritarian control under President Samia Suluhu Hassan, demanding transparency, fairness, and a leadership that truly reflects the will of the people. Many protesters accuse the government of silencing dissenting voices and manipulating state institutions to retain power. As the nation edges closer to the October 29th presidential election, observers warn that the coming days could determine the direction of Tanzania's democracy. Will the youth movement reshape the country's political future, or will the state's response tighten control even further? Tonight, we dive deep into a chilling question. Has President Samia Suluhu Hassan turned Tanzania into a state of silence? Stay tuned as we uncover the disturbing realities behind the polished image presented to the world.
Wangombe, who represents the opposition party in Washington, accuses President Samia's government of systematically silencing dissent, a charge that Tanzanian officials have repeatedly denied. He also claims the government attempted to discredit the Washington protest by allegedly hiring counter-protesters.
Some of our embassy employees came here, Jacob Kinyemi, and one of the most top ranking police officer, IGP daughters, Hidaya Maita, came here with a paid crowd. There were like 8 or 12 people, Mexican and other people who couldn't even speak Swahili. So we are here to tell the world that we are Tanzanians. All of us, as you can see, we speak Swahili, and we are here to tell the world the truth, that there is a backsliding of democracy in Tanzania.
Across the street from the IMF building, a smaller group carrying Tanzanian flags and placards reading "Samia Suluhu Hassan is our leader" staged a counter-protest, claiming that critics are spreading falsehoods meant to tarnish the country's reputation abroad. But as the sun set, the Diaspora protesters marched quietly toward the Tanzanian embassy in Northwest Washington, holding candles in remembrance of those they say have been abducted, tortured, or killed. Some held portraits of missing activists, while others prayed for peace and reform.
A country that was once praised for calm democracy, now making headlines for jailing citizens over tweets, while its leaders use the same platform to campaign. So let's start with the facts. In Tanzania, the presidential term is 5 years, and the president may serve up to 2 terms under the constitution. Here's where it gets interesting. Samia Suluhu Hassan became president on March 19, 2021, following the death of her predecessor, John Magufuli, and now she has declared her intention to run for the 2025 election in Tanzania. So when Samia took office, people hoped for a new dawn for Tanzania. She had a reputation as a consensus builder. She immediately took steps such as lifting some dragonous bans on social media and political rallies imposed by her predecessor. That initial period looked like a corrective moment for Tanzania. But let's talk about the woman running the show still. Samia Suluhu, Africa's only female head of state right now. Madam President came in as the hero who freed social media. Fast forward to now, she's the one locking the doors again. Tanzania's plot twist of the year. So, a few months ago, the Tanzanian government blocked access to Twitter after it said hackers tried to access official accounts. But some say the real reason is because opposition voices were gaining traction online by criticizing policies. Now, while citizens can access Twitter without VPNs, top government officials, including the president's campaign team, still post on Twitter. The general election in Tanzania is scheduled for 29 October 2025, according to the timetable announced by Zanzibar Electoral Commission. Now, here is why this matters beyond Tanzania, because this is the new face of digital authoritarianism in Africa. It starts small, sometimes with a ban on a platform, a new online content regulation, subsequent arrests and suspension somehow, And suddenly, social media becomes a state media. We saw similar trends in Uganda, in Rwanda, in Ethiopia, but Tanzania's case is unique because it is led by a woman who once stood for inclusion and reform. Now, our administration is shrinking the very space where citizens can speak. Since Twitter was blocked, Tanzanian youths have moved to other platforms. So we keep a searchlight on Tanzania. And one thing is clear, this is not about one country. It's about the future of speech in Africa. If governments can block platforms, arrest critics, and still use the same tools to push propaganda, then we must ask ourselves, who really owns the conversation? The people or the power? Tanzania may call it regulation, but history will call it repression. And when citizens can't speak, democracy doesn't just fade overnight, it dies in silence. And this is the story of how one nation is teaching us what happens when leadership confuses control with order.
Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to AfriPlus News Channel for more analytical and thought-provoking reports that expose the realities shaping Africa's political future. It's becoming increasingly evident that the Tanzanian government is playing a dangerous double game. Domestically, citizens face restricted access to social media platforms like X, formerly Twitter. Yet the same administration maintains a vibrant online presence to the international community. What does this tell us? That the president and her team understand the power of global perception. They appear to be curating a narrative for the outside world, one of progress, democracy, and inclusiveness, while silencing voices at home. Could this be a strategy to deceive the international community while controlling internal dissent? And if a government fears its own citizens' voices, what does that say about its legitimacy?
Samia Suluhu Hassan has reportedly banned X, formerly known as Twitter, from operating in the country. The decision, which took effect at the ending of October 2025, has raised widespread debate and criticism. Many citizens have questioned why the government would restrict public access to the platform. Even as President, Samia and several top officials continue to maintain active and verified X accounts. Observers describe the move as a contradiction that highlights ongoing tension between freedom of expression and government control of digital space. Stay tuned with AfriPlus News.
These are questions Tanzanians and the world must confront. Meanwhile, opposition leaders in Tanzania are facing the full weight of government repression.
Tanzania is gearing up for the October 29th general elections. Here are 5 things to know about this crucial vote. A total of 17 presidential candidates are competing. President Samia Suluhu Hassan of the ruling Chama Pinduzi party is the favorite. 2 main opposition candidates from Chadema and ACT Wazalendo are barred from running in the election. Tundu Lissu, Chadema's leader, is facing a treason trial. The winner of the presidential election serves a 5-year term, which is renewable once. This year's election is a bit unusual. Incumbent President Samia Suluhu Hassan is competing in her first presidential election. She took over after President John Magufuli passed away in 2021, becoming the first woman to lead Tanzania. At the beginning of her term, President Hassan was praised for easing the repression of political opponents and censorship of the media, which had become associated with Magufuli's legacy. But she has recently faced growing criticism over the alleged state-sanctioned abductions and arrests of human rights activists and opposition politicians.
The case of Freeman Mbowe's earlier arrest was shocking enough, but now the ongoing persecution of opposition figures like Tundu Lissu tells an even darker story. Lissu, one of the country's most outspoken opposition leaders, has been charged with treason and barred from contesting the upcoming election. This is not just a political move, it's a direct assault on democracy itself. How can a country claim to be free when its political opponents are either silenced, jailed, or exiled? What kind of leadership imprisons critics instead of engaging them? And why has the international community remained largely silent while Tanzania's political space continues to shrink? Then there's the mysterious and brutal pattern of attacks against those who dare to speak out. The recent case of Father Kitima, a respected religious leader who was attacked by unknown assailants shortly after criticizing government policies, adds another frightening layer to Tanzania's current reality. While the attackers remain unidentified, the timing and context of the assault have raised serious suspicions. Is this just coincidence, or part of a larger campaign of intimidation against anyone who challenges the state narrative? When religious leaders, who are supposed to be moral voices of the nation, begin to fear for their safety, what future remains for civic freedom in Tanzania? Adding to this troubling pattern is the case of opposition supporter and activist Heche, who was reportedly prevented from traveling abroad after criticizing the government. This incident highlights how even basic freedoms, such as the right to movement, are being weaponized against dissenters. Is this the mark of a confident government, or one that fears exposure? Why would a leadership that claims to stand for justice and equality go to such lengths to suppress opposing voices? These are questions every Tanzanian and every observer of African politics must ponder deeply. From media restrictions to the arrests of opponents, Tanzania seems to be walking backward on the path of democracy. Yet, through carefully managed public relations and social media visibility, the administration continues to portray an image of openness and reform to the global audience. Could this be a calculated manipulation to maintain foreign investment, diplomatic favor, and international legitimacy, while citizens at home live under fear and censorship? What does this say about the state of governance when image becomes more important than truth? The contrast between the government's polished international posture and its repressive domestic conduct paints a picture that can no longer be ignored. A government that censors its people while broadcasting optimism to the world raises an important moral question. Who is this government truly serving? The Tanzanian people or its international allies? As this analysis unfolds, the world must recognize that silence in the face of repression is complicity. Tanzania deserves genuine democracy, not a performance designed for global approval. The people of Tanzania deserve to speak freely, to choose freely, and to live without fear of persecution. The international community must stop applauding the illusion of stability and start confronting the reality of suppression. In conclusion, Tanzania stands at a defining moment. The question is not whether President Samia Suluhu Hassan has achieved visibility on the world stage. She clearly has. The question is whether that visibility has come at the cost of her people's freedom. As the government tightens its grip on opposition voices, media freedom, and civic space, one must ask, what happens when the people finally decide they've had enough? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you believe the Tanzanian government is protecting national order or suffocating democracy? Do you think international organizations are turning a blind eye to what's happening inside Tanzania? Share your opinions respectfully in the comment section. Your voice matters and contributes to this vital discussion. If you value the kind of deep, fact-based analysis we bring to you here on AfriPlus News Channel, please consider joining our channel membership or supporting us through Super Thanks. Your support helps us continue delivering bold, independent analysis that many are too afraid to voice. Disclaimer: this report is based on verified information from credible media and human rights sources. It is presented for journalistic and analytical purposes only, without promoting hate speech or incitement. AfriPlus News Channel stands firmly for freedom of expression, accountability, and respectful public debate.